I think we can all agree that when we look through the history of the people that God used, we literally can say, why did you use them? I mean, there's Abraham, who was an old man, and Joseph, who was abused, and Moses, who stuttered, and Samson was a womanizer. It's like, hello, what kind of company do we keep here? Rahab, a harlot? What? A harlot? We have Jonah, who was a rebel preacher, John the Baptist, who ate bugs out in the desert. Think about some of these people. Leah, well, she was a little not as pretty as Queen Esther, right? Lazarus was dead, and Esther was a beauty queen. What can God do with a beauty queen, right? We have to see that this story is not about becoming a beauty queen. It has everything to do with one word: providence. There was a debaucherous king who held a debaucherous party, and then finally he said, hey, boys, I'm going to bring out my wife, and she's going to do a little dance for you. And she says to him, are you out of your mind? Her fate was she was banished from the kingdom. Gone. Vashti is gone. Okay, we'll just keep it G-rated. So he comes up with a brilliant idea. He says, oh, you know what? We're going to have a beauty contest. In this beauty contest, I'm going to search out for the most beautiful woman in Persia. Her name, Esther, but her name means star. It's pretty interesting. God raises up somebody who's a star. So here's the deal. In every calling, there is a period of preparation. And sometimes the preparation, you're going, what? It just doesn't make sense. But see, God has a destiny and He has a purpose. We are not called to just eat, work, sleep. So we have to see that the history of the Bible is about preparation to favor, from favor to influence, and from influence to providence. It's the history of the Bible. It's how God likes to work. Sometimes God's ways are not man's ways. Esther didn't even know about the threat that she was facing, but God had already seen behind the scenes and raised somebody up. So she's exhorted to the king to plead her case against the edict. But she says, wait a minute. So Mordecai says to Esther, don't think in your heart, sweetheart, that you'll escape the king's palace any more than any of the other Jews. And he said to her, I don't care if you're a star. The palace, the pool, the beauty treatments, they ain't going to save you, sister. They're not going to save you. Powerful words. You've been called into the kingdom for a time such as this. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will surely perish. Let that sink in. We don't want to get involved in politics because they're divisive. We don't want to have division. And in the spirit of niceness, we allow this woke ideology to enter our congregations, and we become compromised. What does the Bible say? I don't care what the culture says. What does the Word of God say? That's the standard that we live by, not the culture. But the silence of our bimas and our pulpits is frighteningly silent. And we look back at Schindler's List and we think, my God, how did this happen? Because, people, are you silent? Will you speak up? The Word of God says a lot about even civil disobedience. We are to obey those in authority, yes, but when the authority becomes corrupt, we are not called to obey that. Otherwise, the believers in Germany should have obeyed Hitler. Think about that. You have to stand up and say, no more. They've closed our churches. No singing, no congregating. Many congregations shut down. Strip clubs were open. Cannabis dispensaries were open. Abortion clinics were open. Liquor stores were open. All for a virus that has a 99.7% recoverability. Where we played, you think about that. They brought the fight to you. And I'm asking you, will you take up the challenge? You know, the two most important days of your life and the day you discovered what you were born for. Esther came to the place where she realized that her beauty treatments meant nothing. Living in a palace meant nothing. Being queen meant nothing. And finally, it came to the place where the gloves are off and the moment of her destiny had come. And she rose up to the challenge and she said, if I perish, I perish. And that's where you need to get to. I didn't back down in the fight because I have a call, I have a destiny, and I have a purpose for my life. This might just be your greatest hour.